This is probably advice that nobody really wants to hear. You probably don't want to hear it. I admittedly don't really want to give it myself entirely, just because it's not the most flattering, it's not the most glamorous piece of advice that I could give. It's not like one of those top 5 things you can do to get rid of your anxiety. It's not one of those videos. This is something that I've had to deal with myself and go through myself in order to understand the value in it. So today I want to talk about dealing with your anxiety real quick. Nobody likes going to bed with anxiety and stressed out. I think everybody can agree with that. It's, for one, annoying just because you will be up all night just dealing with your anxiety and your brain just feels overworked. So then in the morning when you wake up, it doesn't even feel like you slept. And then for 2, since you're staying up all night dealing with these lingering thoughts just bouncing around in your head, you get less sleep just due to the nature of staying up later dealing with it. But I think it's one of the best ways, if you want to try to master your own thoughts, master your mind, is by just wrestling with your thoughts. So that's why this piece of advice isn't the most flattering. It's not the most glamorous thing in the world, because nobody wants to hear, oh, just deal with your thoughts, deal with your anxiety by brute force, and then it'll go away. And I'm not even saying that if you wrestle with your thoughts entirely, it'll go away. Maybe you'll be up the whole night and not get any sleep just due to your anxiety. But I do think that it takes skill and it takes mastery to be able to actually calm your mind down to the point where you're able to fall asleep. So that's like the main message for the video, because I was dealing with this last night. I was probably up for another half an hour at least to an hour, just because, there were just running thoughts in my head. Couldn't really calm it down, and eventually I somehow found some peace, so I was able to sleep, but not for very long because I had to wake up early. I'm here at the gym now, 6 a.m., so I woke up at like 5:30, and those are just kind of things you have to deal with. I was up late last night, had a club meeting, so I was out there and didn't really get home till like 11. So these are kind of just things you have to deal with, and I know it's not the most comforting advice to just be like, oh, just deal with your anxiety, deal with your thoughts, but this goes a little level deeper than the whole idea of like top 5 tips to get rid of your anxiety. Some of those tips, I think, and some of the advice that's given goes in the direction of escaping your thoughts, and that's not necessarily always a bad thing. There's a time and a place for distraction from your emotions, so then you can get away from the trouble of it all, because in the end it is really a menial kind of thing that you're stressing over. I'm sure it's really not the end of the world when you think about it. Say if you go forward into the future 10 years and you think back on that very day or that very night that you were in bed stressing about something, it probably doesn't mean much to you now, or it probably doesn't mean much to you 10 years into the future. So that's basically what I'm trying to get at, is it, in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't really, not that it doesn't really matter, but it is kind of reduced to a really small issue. And I think that by sitting with your thoughts and not allowing yourself to distract yourself from them affords you an opportunity to work on your mastery of your own mind. And if you're able to not always escape every time that you feel your anxiety, and you're able to figure out a way just through wrestling with your thoughts to calm your mind down, I think that's going to be a much more effective way in the long run and in the future to being able to kind of like stop your anxiety on command. And that's really something that I've been trying to develop myself, is avoiding the distractions and avoiding the escapism that not only modern technology affords us, but some of the wisdom that has been passed down. I'm not going to say that you should never do things to escape your reality, but that's kind of how I'm approaching it, right? I don't really, the whole thing with like drugs, alcohol, smoking, playing video games, doing those activities basically is transporting you to a different mind state, transporting you, in the case of video games, to a fantasy land that is better. You're getting dopamine from that because it's better than your real life. And I don't really sit well with that idea. I much prefer to just increase the quality of my life in ways that I can control, such as through my own mind and my own perspective and my own outlook and my own lens on how I look at things in life, in order to not have to partake in escapism habits that take me out of my real life, because I would much prefer to enjoy the life that I live and not have to always have a vice to escape from it, because that's, I think, the end reality of the whole situation is people who participate in using those vices are, to some degree, no matter how big, how small, are unsatisfied with their lives. And that's the main thing that I'm trying to work around, is to cut out the fat, cut out all these escapism things, so I can be satisfied with my own life and I won't have to rely on them to be happy. So that's going to be the video for today. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Remember to stay on target.